So that was the beginning of what we now call the Johnsonburg Awakening. Actually started in January of this year. We had been praying for years for a breakthrough amongst the Amish in the Smicksburg community, unsuccessfully. But without going into all the details because of our limited time, the Lord connected us with an Amish bishop in the Johnsonburg Amish community, which is about a half hour away from us. Smaller, but about 100 families. He had been born again by reading the Bible, and he had led a cousin who was a minister, Amish minister to the Lord, and we had dinner with them on January the 31st of this year. And that minister had just been born again for a couple of weeks, and his wife. So we had wonderful fellowship. They were ecstatic to meet somebody who was born again, my wife and I, and they were debating, should we just leave or what should we do? And we suggested, stay as long as you can. Why don't you start Bible studies? Well, that's forbidden to start a Bible study. Amish people in general are discouraged from reading the Bible because they've noticed that people that read the Bible tend to drift away from being Amish and leave the Amish lifestyle. So we suggested they start having covert Bible studies and prayerfully seeking the Lord as to who they should invite amongst their Amish relatives and community who might be open to studying the Bible. And so they employed that strategy. It worked for a few months. They stayed under cover. Their Bible study grew. People started being born again, and within maybe 2.5, 3 months, there were 24 adults who had been born again. And that's continued to grow since then. I was just at their new ex-Amish church just yesterday morning in their church service in the basement of one of their homes. And there was a brand new born again couple there who had just been born again in the last couple of weeks, still dressed entirely just in the Amish garb and so forth. And so it's just been a growing thing, and probably the most exciting part of the story is it led then to our sending an evangelistic letter just geared for Amish people to 63,000 Amish households across the United States. And from that, we've received lots of response, some negative, some very nasty, but some very positive, as Amish seekers are asking for Bibles, English Bibles, because that's something they often don't have access to because they're reading German Bibles. German Bibles are used in their church services, and asking for more information about how to be born again, asking to be called or reached out in some way by someone who has an Amish background who's been born again. So the Johnsonburg Awakening.
An Amish person. Anyway, how do you call an Amish person?
Oh, yeah. Well, every Amish community has their own unique set of rules. And so, believe it or not, there are some Amish that they allow phones in their backyard. Yeah. In the Smicksburg Amish, they allow phones in a phone booth, a pay phone that is shared by maybe 20 families. Okay. Some Amish communities, the Johnsonburg one, allows cell phones, not smartphones, but flip phones, because that prevents them from having access to pornography, which is actually not a bad idea. So there are Amish people that you could call. Not all of them, but some do have phones. So.
An amazing story. I think something that just strikes me is when you say they read the Bible and became born again. That's how this started.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that reading of the Bible. I mean, this is important not just for Amish, but for all of us to know what's in the good book.
Yeah, sure.
But you've started these Bible studies, or they have, and what do those Bible studies look like?
Yeah, so first of all, again, just to reiterate that many Amish people are not knowledgeable of the Bible. They're discouraged from reading it on Sundays when they go every other Sunday to their churches. The sermon is in German. The reading from Martin Luther's German translation of the Bible, and many of them do not understand much German at all. They speak Pennsylvania Dutch. That's like German, but it's not German. And so we find them just being ignorant of basic biblical facts. So Bishop Levi began reading the Bible. His wife bought him an English Bible because he was a bishop. you know, and he wanted to learn what the Bible said so he could preach sermons. And he found the Lord by just reading the scripture himself, came to a living faith in Jesus and committed himself to serve him. And that superseded anything else in his life, which that's the definition of a Christian, right? Yeah. And so the Bible studies that we encourage them to start would be kind of, I guess you could call them inductive Bible studies, but they focus around asking 4 questions about the passage of Scripture. What do you like about this? What do you find challenging about this? What does it teach us about God? And what does it teach us about people? And everyone's allowed to contribute their you know, what they're extracting from that passage, and you arrive at a consensus of truth. It's really a remarkable thing. And the Bible has been, I would say, reading the Bible has been a key element in many Amish people across this country that, as I've learned more and more about what's happening, instrumental in them coming to a genuine faith in Jesus. So any of your viewers who know any Amish people, one thing you could always do to help an Amish person is say, do you have an English Bible? Because I'll give you